All right. Let's see here. Looks like my microphone is working. Hello, everybody. How are you? I'm a little earlier tonight. Got my mood lighting going. Jeez, that's a little bit much, isn't it? Let's see which side of that's that side. Am I coming through fine? How's everybody doing? Yeah, like I said, I'm coming in a little early tonight. Getting early, my night a little earlier finished. So I got a local toy con to go to tomorrow at Toy-Hio for those of you in the area. So I'm going to get up a little earlier than I wanted to on the weekend. So how's everybody doing? We got Patrick, Cheesier back. Brandon, Justin, how you doing, man? T-Formers 2002, Coltrane, Windcharger, Titus, El Kevo. Got the crew. Well, I'm sure the ninja will sneak in here eventually. We got a little bit of the Lunar New Year dragon we could talk about if we'd like. Kind of the reasons for those if we wanted to get into that. We can talk about where we all net out on Omega Prime, and now that it's funded, what we think of that. Good, bad, or ugly. I feel like my camera's not as crisp as it's been. I don't know why that might be. But, no, that's weird. So apologize if the view isn't, great, but it rarely is. Hey, how's it going, David? Yeah, right. Well, it's funny. I feel bad for is that Evan that said that there probably would be no primes. I lived through that same thing with core characters being BotCon exclusives. We did the Thunder did Starscream in the main line, then early cat appearance. One of the other Seekers is a BotCon exclusive, which kind of aced it out for a little while anyway as a mainline item, and we're like, well, we can't do mainline characters for these wild exclusives, right? So it made sense for him to say, oh yeah, we're not going to do any exclusive Optimuses because those should always be retail. And it made sense until it didn't. And, Hey Mike, how's it going? I'm going to be set up with Mike tomorrow. He does exclusively sells Transformers and mostly my era, so. Yeah, the cat is here already. Might be a long night for me. If he's hungry already, I'm trouble. Yeah, so you can see making core characters that everybody would buy, like an Optimus theoretically, as exclusives or walled off because the deco's been used at one particular place, is kind of tricky. You don't want to do that. So it made sense to me when we're not going to do any Optimuses as exclusives like this or HasLab items. But things change, and like I said on my little review, I think senior management said, hey, we got to get heavy hitters. So I just jumped into this tonight because of the crew that's here. We all know the story. Hey, Mikey Louie, what's up? But for those of you who are tuning in at a different time or don't know me, I am Aaron Archer. I was a toy designer for about 18 years at Hasbro and Kenner on Transformers, Batman, Alien Resurrection, Medabot, Jurassic Park 3, a bunch of different things on top of that. And I freelance now, and I'm an independent artist, so check me out at the archermonster.com and archermonster_creative on the Instagram, where you can check out my latest stuff. I sell sketchbooks and original art and all that good stuff. So, what is everybody thinking about tonight? Hey, Alan. Yeah, you are. You're actually ahead. Since I started at 9:30, you're like way ahead. I guess you had an early night. Hey, Draconimus, how you doing? Yeah, probably Ultra Magnus would have been a tougher one. You know, when I did my little review of the RID characters, I neglected to say that I was responsible for the kind of whatever that scale that we called that at the time was, the Legends or basic kind of scale for Optimus and Ultra Magnus. Those were new items that were not part of the Car Robots line as it came out in Japan. Those were Hasbro made items. I forgot about those when I talked about those. So I did work a little bit on that RID Optimus and Ultra Magnus from a one product anyway. Yeah, those spy changers, we made those special ones, which was kind of fun at the time. A nice way to ease into designing some characters pre-Armada. Since everything was done, I still got to keep my hand a little bit in development, which is important. You don't want to just go totally adaptation. Yeah, so I'm going to try to keep up with the lives a little bit better. I have not been great at it. I apologize. As some of you know, my mom has been in the hospital, and that is ongoing, and I get my work done. I keep my family plates spinning, but getting on here and chatting about toys isn't always what I want to do at the wrong times or the right times, so bear with me on all that. But yeah, the mini X-Bron and Scourge, yeah, we did those as well. Yeah, that Scourge was a nice one. That was fun. Yeah, those were items that were kind of needed for the Hasbro side to fill out standard ratios and things, and we wanted more main characters at different price points, and that was the easiest way to do it. Make some low cost items, and yeah, so I did do those items. I often forget about that as far as RID. I talk about it being an adaptation and changing the sound effects and different things, but we did make a few of those spy changers. Yeah, that Scourge ended up being nice. We redecoed that several times, even going back to making it Optimus again, right? So Mikey and Louie, was R2-D2 a minicon? Because all the minicons just were making beeps and boops noises, just like him. That's funny. We kind of referred to it that way. When we got into the animation of Armada, clearly there were a lot of characters that we wanted to be in the show, the program. And minicons, there were dozens of them. To have each one have an individual personality and a voice actor attached to it, maybe, got to be story prohibitive and cost prohibitive. So in the cartoon, they ended up just making beeps and boops, whereas in the comic book, they were more speaking and sentient, which is more how I envision them. And these are the compromises you make when you're making something like a show. You don't stomp your feet and go, well, no, they should talk. It's like, well, the budget's the budget, time and focus, and makes sense. So there you go. Long-winded answer, Mikey and Louie. Oh, that's cool, Justin. Thanks that they felt like they were just lost G2 toys. That's cool. Yeah, my mom's in a tough place, but we're practical people, so we're just figuring it out as it goes. I've not talked about Shattered Glass toys, really. Whether it's BotCon or now what they had done in the main line. Um, oh, thanks. I wanted to thank you for the Armada Powerlinks Hotshot sketch you did in the art book. Yeah, thanks. I have fun drawing those, and when people ask for, Unicron trilogy characters, it's a lot of fun to sometimes go above and beyond. And I don't draw those guys too often, and didn't draw them too often, so it's fun in these sketchbooks to go crazy on the Unicron characters sometimes. Will you be at TFCon this year in Baltimore? I know you didn't design the specific version of this toy, but I'd love to get you to sign my Legacy Transmetals 2 Megatron. Yeah, I'll sign those as well. I had a hand in the kind of the original concept design, so that's fine. I always, make sure I leave room for the other designers as well. But I'm fine with signing that. I think I will be in Baltimore. I have not finalized that. That's a little further out in my year to make that kind of decision. But there's a fairly decent chance I will be. I will be in Toronto. I will not be in LA. So for those scoring at home. Coltron. I'm not in love with the idea of main characters like Optimus and Magnus being in HasLab. But the figures look amazing, so I can forget my gripes. Well, and that's exactly it. If they do a good job, and they're not just cheesing out because it's Optimus, it's going to sell, and so on and so forth. They're really giving you a compelling product. It's going to be worth it. It'll be fine. I really look at that item more and more as they're selling a combo, really, and to have it all together versus ratioing those things separately and have that combo feature, it might have been too much at retail to navigate that, and some of the Ultra Magnuses have not done as well, from my understanding. So it might have been a protection measure. They know that Optimus is hot. It's a really cool combiner. That RID era hasn't got a ton of extra love, and those are main characters from it. So, that's kind of how I'm feeling about it now. A week later, it looks like they hit their 10,000. So from here, we'll see what extras and add-ons get added. I have only checked out the first Skybound book. I don't get to my local comic book store every week because I don't buy a lot of comics. But they'll be sitting there for me. Is there any particular artist you liked, Aaron? Any personal preference? Wow, that's a Windcharger. That's a fully loaded question. It depends on what era and when, and I kind of I kind of went through a phase through even high school, but definitely through college, where every semester I picked a different genre or artist and really deep dived into that. So for one semester I really got into Brian Froud, which is the artist of The Dark Crystal and Fairies and some books like that. And another semester I got into Bernie Wrightson and pen and ink drawing and kind of early 20th century pen and ink illustration and stuff. So I don't know. I got a lot of different artists. I talk about the Amano a lot of Asian influence. I pull this guy out all the time. Kufu Lung, Hong Kong comic artist, or Paul Pope. Golly, I got too many. And then all the Star Wars guys, and yeah. What else do we got here? I was wondering, do you have a favorite 2007 movie figure? which you designed. Well, I didn't design too many of them at all. Actually, I actually only designed the protoform, Optimus, and Starscream. I was doing all kinds of other IP related things and promoting those films and all of that. So Dwight Stahl and Bill Raleigh, I believe, did the first wave or two, and then Jared Wade picked it up, and I picked up a few items here and there, and so it kind of went like that. So I don't know if I have a favorite I designed. I like the protoforms; they're fine. I always forget his name. The white personnel carrier, armored personnel carrier that wasn't actually in the movie, but was designed by the art department. Kind of white and gray camo. I really like that guy. I have become Dr. Evil. Other than Transformers, what are some of your favorite things to work on? And the favorite characters in them. I don't know what you mean there. In the toy stuff that I've done, I enjoyed anytime I got to do monsters, so Batman villains and that kind of stuff. If you're talking things I actually did. Yeah, Shattered Glass definitely was a BotCon kind of thing because, at the time it was so far removed from anything we were going to do that it was safe space for them to create story continuity that wasn't going to collide with anything else, right? And over time it becomes part of the overall pantheon of what's happening. So it's kind of funny that it is a good way to get free repaints. It's a concept everybody kind of understands now, the buying public, casual public even. You don't have to be a deep in it kind of enthusiast anymore. But it is a clever way to get repaints, no doubt. Yeah, so the cat will come and go. Speaking of Hotshot or Energon as a whole, what influenced you and the design team to drastically redesign the Energon Decepticons and Autobots from their Armada counterparts? Well, that's a good question. We did Armada. Those were all the Unicron trilogy segments were each on, for the U.S. market, 18-month cycles. So that's a long time to maintain a story and maintain a look. And no matter how well we thought Armada was doing, we needed a package refresh at Energon. Well, at the Unicron battles at the end of Armada, and then Energon comes in, and you need to update the designs as well. Buyers don't want to buy stuff that is, doesn't feel fresh to them. And if it feels like yesterday's toys, and maybe they have yesterday's toys still on shelf, they're not going to buy your tomorrow toys if they feel like they're yesterday's toys. So you got to keep jazzing it up a little bit, no pun intended. So what influenced us at the time was just that, kind of just staying within the fashion, kind of what's next, what's new, how can we make these tiny adjustments, because we were trying to make tiny adjustments, whereas when we went to animated or the feature films, you're making drastic changes in style and form, and we did that on purpose. Whereas during the Unicron trilogy, we're trying not to be as bold. And you could see that through segmentation when it's done well. It holds its look, stands on its own. Wreckage, I always forget that. Wreckage. It's a classic Hasbro name, probably used on any number of G.I. Joes and vehicles and Transformers. Yeah, an RID Megatron would be cool. I'd be happy with just like a triple changer or something out of it. I don't know. They don't have to go crazy on that one, in my opinion. But every time, excuse me, every time I say that, they prove me wrong by doing a very honorific, thorough, update of the old product without really compromising or redesigning anything, as far as the design, the visual design of it. The engineering design of it is obviously different, but so they don't even take the outs when they can get them. So at this point, I'm thinking they got a sense of pride in how well they can keep those characters going. I'm the quite literal ass that wanted to leave my own mark and create characters on my own and not pay attention to what came before as much for a while. So kudos to them for doing it, maybe right. Someone recently posted pictures of a life-size 2007 liter Optimus box from some promotional event. I don't know that one. I can't recall it right now. Michael, have you ever given your kid a toy that you had a hand in creating? If so, what was it? If you look around here, I'm making art and got this crazy stuff and playing Legos with my kid and video games and all that. So when I point out toys that I designed, when we go to my local Happy Pappy's toy store, to check out what old stuff came in, he doesn't care. He really doesn't care. He thinks it's cool. He's proud that Dad's an artist, I guess, or whatever. But an old toy to him that Dad worked on is just an old toy that Dad worked on. It's not charming, which is humbling, and that's just how it is. That's just how it is. Someone, I got to design Movie Brawl. What did you design, Aaron? No, thanks, Mikey and Louie. Yeah, hit the like and subscribe if you haven't done that. If you have a particular deep topic you want me to make sure I see, super chats are great. I am an independent freelance artist, so it all works. But definitely like and subscribe. Check out the long forms. We're going to record another one here, I hope early next week. And I think I know the topic, but I forget. So like and subscribe. I appreciate you. I know Snowcat was based on a G.I. Joe tank. Were there any other franchises you wanted to reference to the vehicles? Not so overtly. Things that we enjoyed, we'd incorporate. So Signal Flare, is a reminiscent of a kind of a tank that you would see in Godzilla, the Defense Force kind of radar dish tanks. So we did our homages that way. I made a few that had some Batman-like elements, but they really weren't that close. We weren't really trying to get sued or anything. So there's a point where it's kind of so abstract. It's really just for us as in our own design sense to know that it's there. Was it depth charge? No. Yeah, Wreckage was a G.I. Joe Extreme bad guy. I know you didn't do any Beast Machine stuff that was original, but I wonder how you might interpret the designs if you got around to redesigning the techno-organic Maximals. I don't know if I would change anything. The actual designs were really cool. When they were designed, it was when they got in toy form, they changed a little bit in 3D, changed a little further. So I don't know if I have an answer for that one. I'm not, as a creative, I'm happy to redesign in new ways old characters, but I don't know of how I would really interpret those without just changing the style overall and proportions and everything. Say it's not a CG show anymore. Some of those characters are interesting. When some of the Energon Autobots were repainted at the end of the line, what made those the colors that were picked? For some of them, like Hotshot, Ironhide, and Jetfire, look really amazing. Often the redecos come down to a couple of things. You want to separate it from the original. So, the old joke used to be with the fans that we just take the color slider on Photoshop and just, if it's here and just kind of make it opposite. That's not how we did it, but often if you're doing your job correctly, you're going the opposite colors and you're going to end up in a similar spot. We would try to bring some accent to those redecos, so things like the fire graphics on Unicron Battles Hotshot, or Silver Hotshot in Energon. Try to bring something worth looking at, or a new presence on your shelf if you were to buy that item. And you're then also trying to balance color of whatever else is in the line at the time. So, if you have a blue and a silver and a red, you're gonna go purple, black, green. That's what you need. You don't need more silver, black, or red. So it's also the color balance. So sometimes the redecos would get purposely chosen with the colors up front, because it was like, okay, by this point we're going to need a green item, so this will be green, we'll figure it out. Stuff like that would come into play. That's how we did it 20 years ago. That was before they were doing, I wasn't fully in the design group when we started doing the second heads, right? So they've been perfecting the redecos and how they're going to do them and all that now for quite a while. But basically you want to make a point of difference so that you want to buy a second item of the same mold, and point of difference so that it's striking on toy shelf from anything that came before and anything that might also be on shelf. Good question, Robert H. El Kevo, in Batman the Animated Series toy line, Pogo Stick Joker came with a pogo stick that was originally from Ghostbusters toy line. Is there a story behind why that accessory from 10 years before was reused? Hasbro or Kenner was very, I don't want to say frugal, but smart. If they had invested in really good engineered product and could be reused, that was a resource to really help your time, your schedule, your costs, your debug, everything. So yeah, it was that was the mentality. Hey, we got this thing. I think it would work with the Joker. Great, let's do it. Simple as that. And there. The only toy Aaron needed was a pencil and paper. That is true. That is true. What influenced you when working on the design for Vector Prime? CD Freedom. Vector Prime, we were really looking at wristwatch automation, how the gearing in the back and stuff worked. We wanted something that looked ancient and old, and a transformer made of gears seemed properly cliche, and cloaked that in a kind of Darth Maul kind of sleek spaceship kind of thing with a giant sword and gun attached to it, and that was kind of what we went with. And there's some Egyptian motif in there as well, kind of hidden, but it's in there. And at the time, I was also trying to think of him as a time and space character, and how we could represent that in the product, and that's where the sword came from. So, hope that helps. Haha! Look at this Transformers Slag podcast out here tonight. General Techno, any thoughts at all on the Transformers G.I. Joe figures they've been putting out of late? Finally opened Soundwave this week, and he's pretty neat. We had talked about that back in my day, and we weren't doing anything of that scale at that time. So yeah, it's really cool. I wish all that stuff would have come out years and years before, because now I'm just too old to care. But it is interesting and cool. If Beast Wars Silverbolt was remade into a G1 character, what would you have designed him to look like and transform into? Ooh-wee. Probably a DeLorean or something with gull wing doors, to get that wing vibe. Or maybe a Cessna or something. I don't know. I'm on the spot on that one. I have to think. Yeah, I'd try to bring some of that jet back, but maybe not back to the original. That was the centerpiece for Superion, right? I'm a little foggy on that stuff. How do you feel about the current rumor that the new Vector Prime is going to be a retool of a Legacy G-Axis? Yeah, I haven't heard much of that yet. We'll see. Until I know, I'm not going to get disappointed or whatever. There's reasons for everything. Yeah, they're not the same character. Yeah, Dwight Stahl came in and helped with movie 1. We had some designers doing it, and there was just more to do faster. Eric was working on animated. We'd never had a big team, so when that movie kicked in high gear, when you think of all the product we were already making, classics and animated related product, whatever segment we were in at the time of animation, reissue stuff, all that classics was in that mix. Movie came, and we went from like 2 designers to 8 designers quick. It was crazy. Maybe not 8, but it felt like it. Finally got Origins Eternia put together and put up with Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain. Holy crap, that's a whole wing of the basement, huh? Transtech should become something. Doesn't have to be what it was, but it should become something. talking tonight. All right, we've been at it for a half hour. Aaron, if you got anything you particularly want to jump out, super chat sound great. Any long form stuff? Man, I totally lost my place. There we go. Where did the inspiration for Medabot Megatron come from? The design director at the time on that stuff, who was in charge of Hasbro's entertainment, he was driving kind of the design direction that the toy line was working within. He kind of liked that vibe. It was of the era. Wild Wild West and all kinds of stuff like that. Bunch of stuff with Spider. Even Toy Story, right? One of the Sid toys, you know, a little spider body with a giant head. It was a thing in the 90s, early 2000s. I could probably rattle off a few more, but have you ever dug up the original deco plan for Demolisher? We'd heard there was another plan that got tossed out when Takara. Yeah, I was gonna do a 6-shot redeco at one point that clearly got changed. I gotta look at my old document. I gotta track that down again that had some deco plans and see if there's any indication there, and or any redeco names that I was thinking about using, which would maybe inform or cross-pollinate there with the colors to go, oh yeah, that's what we were trying to do. But until I find that, Justin, I probably don't know. I do remember that we were gonna do a 6-shot color on Demolisher. I don't think I ever did a sketch of it or color rough. And I don't think we're going to call it 6-shot, so I don't think we ever looked at that name either. So kind of that one is more of, I think of it more of a moment in time that got, of an internal development that got let loose in the wild as if it was really a thing. It just part of the process. But Mark on the team, so when I did Armada, I was still doing everything on paper and marker renderings and taping my Pantone chips to the paper and a lot of faxes back and forth. Different time. So I had, and Takara was sending stuff as well, daily with their paper. So I had these accordion binders, 2 of them, that I had every item in the line, and I would just keep stuffing everything that would come through into that. And when I left that behind. I think I don't know if I left it with Warden, but Warden ended up with them. And then Mark and I were talking about something. This is a while back, kind of at the end of COVID, and I said, well, you know, Warden has all that files of the original stuff, at least what I used at the time, the deco chips and different things. And so now my understanding is Mark somehow went to Warden, got those. I said go get them from Warden, and so now he has them. So he at least has exactly what I had back in the day. So there you go. Little insight for you. So you know, there's respect amongst us crazy designers as far as that stuff goes, and it's not treated like treasure, but it matters, because if you're redecoing this stuff down the road, that's the only way to know. You know, computer files don't last. All that stuff doesn't get transferred when someone leaves or gets let go. It just gets boof. So hook or by crook, we all hang on to weird stuff just to help us along our effort. Isn't it weird that in the early 2000s, Megatron turned into body parts in car robots? He was a hand in Beast Wars. He turned into a head. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and Kenner did a good job. You never, I mean, you didn't notice. And back then, toys were different. And if it's a good toy, is a good toy. Change the color, put different stickers on it, new box. Yeah, Silverhawks can be Batman. It doesn't matter. What are some of my favorite things that came from adapting Car Robots product cartoon to us here in the States? Well, I didn't adapt the cartoon at all. That was done in conjunction with other people. And I was too new to worry about any of that. I had my hands full. Probably doing the voices just because I hadn't had a lot of experience with electronics toys. So getting that done. At the time, all the stuff that I kind of got into over time, this was my first case study, but for car robots, picking names, you know, so I don't know if I have any cool stories, unfortunately. It was a lot of, we have this mold, there's some Beast Wars stuff that we still have to use. So some opportunistic opportunities. Here's the stuff they have. We're not sure about these colors. Can you adjust them? I went ahead and adjusted colors that maybe didn't need adjusted, and so on and so forth. So it was just, I really got lucky that was kind of like I got to touch a lot of parts of Transformers development without being any of it getting backed up because it was already done. It was just changing these little bits, and even doing the basic RID spy changers, helped as well. So when I got to doing our animated or Armada, everything was, not totally new. So hope that answers it, Alan. Who came up with the toy scaling names for Armada? Supercon, MaxCon, GigCon. I think me and maybe the marketing, we brainstormed on that stuff. I think maybe a lot of people, and those names were just for retail understanding. Got the cat here getting himself in trouble again. Those weren't IP related names. We never called them GigaCons and things in the show. So I don't remember who came up with them specifically, but I know I had my hand in it as well. Or it was at the brainstorm where we figured it out. Oh, super chat. Sorry about that. Missed those. Mikey and Louie, let's get this party started. When did you first begin drawing and know you wanted to be an artist? And what are some of your first passion drawings? That's funny. The story in my family is that I did not like to do coloring books, but I took the black crayon and made my own pictures for other kids to color. And I still like drawing in black and white, and that makes sense to me. So apparently I was doing that at 3. That's the family story. So I've always drawn. I've always been into it. It's always kind of been my thing in school, my thing with classes, my thing with my friend group. It's my thing. I don't really. I do other things okay, but I really know the creative process. So I've known for a long time. And mostly I was drawing characters, animation, comic strip stuff. I was really into Gru the Wanderer. So Sergio Aragonés, for for those playing at home. And a comic strip, Bloom County, was a big one back in middle school and stuff. So, thank you, Mikey Louie. Hope thank you for the super chat. Hope that gives you a little bit of insight. I think I'm gonna have to do a little bit of my own personal interview one of these days to kind of get into some of that nitty gritty. People do like to know how, I didn't just come out the womb a toy designer. It kind of was a long process to get to that spot for me. And so, yeah, it's fun to probably talk about. And Matt with the $5 super chat, thank you. Kicker Jones from Energon. I get creating a human who could join the Transformers in action, but why the name Kicker? With a specialty of kicking things. I think that was Japanese humor. I recall it kind of coming all from that side. I think they came up with the name Kicker too. But I designed the costume. That was another one of these classic, I'm sitting there, I don't know exactly what we're going to work on, and they come over and they're like, piece of paper or whatever, the scale, and okay, you got to design the hero costume. Oh, okay. So, Takara trusted me to do a lot of crazy stuff too. They wanted to make toys, so they were happy to let me design stuff and decide where the gloves end at the cuffs or at the mid arm, or they didn't care. So they let me run with all that stuff. But I think it was largely, that's largely Japanese humor that got infused in there. Let's see. So thank you for the super chats, fellas. Mikey, Louie, and Matt. Yeah, Cheese here. I know him. A long time ago, I had an awkward panel with that guy from that used to be at Mattel. But that was a long time ago. He operates in his world, from his era of what he knows, and yeah, so we're similar. We definitely have different philosophies of toys. Mattel's philosophies of toys is very different than what I was trained with at Kenner and then Hasbro. Sometimes it's very hard for me to hear interviews from back in the day with those He-Man guys and different things, because I just don't understand how they developed product some days and how it ended up being so good for a while. And then I go, I can also understand why it wasn't good for a while with all that bickering and trying to get credit and stuff. I mean, I don't know. But that would be an interesting chat. No doubt would be an interesting chat. When you were designing Armada, how aware were you of car robots? I know you mentioned seeing Fire Convoy when you worked on Armada Optimus, but did you see a lot of the others? Well, yeah, I had adapted all of them, so yeah, we saw car robots. We had all the car robots in the building, well before Beast Machines was done. I think we probably had it in real time as it was coming out in Japan. They were probably sending it to us as well. So yeah, I definitely saw all that stuff. What I was doing is basically I was essentially working on two lines at once. So my day-to-day production stuff was in the year 2000. One particularly for the first 9 months, well, first 6 months for sure, was to run all that stuff through the system. You know, everything was on a schedule, so deco had to be done by this, and photography, bios, all that stuff. And that's that's the process. That's designing any kind of product that's on a schedule. And then next to that, on a side track, was the building of what would become Armada. Looking at models, reviewing styles, coming up with a story concept that could easily be delivered. How are we going to create collectability? How are we going to get back to basics? You know, kind of conceptual, designerly, brand building, franchise exercise kind of stuff. Not as practical yet. That came more in the summer, later summer of 2001 as Armada then ramped up. Because there was only so much adaptation I needed to do on RID before it was just done. You know, I didn't need to reinvent every wheel. So that's kind of how we went on that. Who proposed bringing back Soundwave for Cybertron? I don't know. That was probably Eric. It was probably not me. I probably gave him a very cryptic challenge, like, well, if you can figure out how to do some sort of tapes that make sense, then it would be worth doing. But if we can't do tapes, then don't do Soundwave. And he figured out an interesting way, or they figured out an interesting way to do that. So that's one way we often worked. Were there any animated toys that got canceled that you knew about? Well, yeah, there's several that have been kindly widely publicized. Japan has put out a couple of them. Takara. I think there's a Megatron. There's a few. I almost don't remember them now, but I'm sure someone here can tell you, Mike. And yeah, it was unfortunate. If I had to guess, CD is probably the trademark. Ooh, just watched Transformers Zone today. Yeah. No, I didn't look at any of that stuff. Again, my challenge back in the early 2000s particularly was to reestablish Autobots fighting Decepticons on Earth, hidden in Earth gear and vehicles. I didn't have to recreate G1 exactly, so I could change names and change personalities. So that's why I was kind of cherry picking interesting stuff from the G1 era. But Zone and some of that stuff was just a little too wild and probably collectory or super fan. So it was stuff that was kind of too obscure to pull from in a way. You know, when we get to Energon, we certainly looked at some other things like Gal Gaigar, but yeah, it could be cool. A lot of that kind of stuff. Did you ever consider a story for Alternators? What media would have you used? We did not really look at a story for Alternators. In our minds, we knew the fans would treat it in its own way, and if you wanted to think of them as the G1 characters updated, that was fine. If it was an alternate reality where it was G1 but updated, that was fine. You know, if you were just a fan from the 80s and you hadn't bought a Transformer and you saw that Subaru, you'd be like, that is cool. You know, so we really it was really about the overall presentation and attention to detail, not the story for us. Man. Let's see. We'll do some more questions here. Gonna skip down. Hey, Timothy, thank you for the $5 super chat. Appreciate you answering my silly question about car robots. Thank you. Love Toy Armada. Appreciate that. Yeah, car robots I don't always talk about because I feel like I was I was new on it, so I feel like a little bit of an interloper on it. Other guys in Japan worked really hard on that product, and so I don't want to take anything from it. But I had to touch every item. Had to evaluate names and color and bio, and we had to recreate the Autobot and Decepticon logo for the package and a bunch of different things. I forget that sometimes. I definitely do. Yeah, the stories, the way I have always kind of thought of it between Hasbro and Mattel particularly is Hasbro felt to me like a bunch of people who really liked making toys that they were going to work hard to figure out how to sell and make money doing. Mattel always has felt like a bunch of people who really want to make money, and they figured toys was a good way to do it. Either or are fine. But that's just how I feel about the complexion and the attitude and the reason for being between the two companies kind of comes down to one wants to make toys, one wants to make money, and somewhere in between, both try to make good product and profitable product also. So that's my 2 cents today, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Do you have any thoughts on the Chinese New Year dragon figure? Seems like a fun retool. I don't know much about the original. I like that they do those items. I recognize that some people, they can get weird and different price points and, all of that. But, it's another form of exclusive. Another kind of opportunity to share in the holiday in this case, just like they do Santa Claus Optimus. It's that kind of thing. So dragons are cool, or every year there's a different thing to do, which is kind of fun. It's unfortunate that they did the snake trailer and all that different stuff, that they didn't just make a line where it's a new item every year and you can just you're kind of going to go down the line: pig, monkey, horse, ram, and there could be a whole line of the zodiac, the whole pantheon of lunar holiday, but that's not the route they went. 12, 13 years in the making, which would be funny. Hey, thanks, Justin. I appreciate you. Good seeing you. Justin is one of my early convention acquaintances that became a friend. It's always nice to see guys that I have known now for quite a while, since my early BotCon days in 2001, 2002, or 2002, 3. So, have a good one, Justin. I must have missed some of the Optimus Head stuff. Is there an art style that you prefer? I like a lot of different things, actually. I think that's one of my creative skills a little bit, is to kind of navigate different styles for different purpose. I'm not necessarily an artistic chameleon, but in my ability to pull reference and find the uniqueness from line to line or project to project, I'm pretty good at that. Whether it be by shape, color, line, a lot of different components, tone that you can bring to it. And that's why I liked working on something like Transformers with all the different segmentation, because it was a lot of fun to present all that in different ways. So personally, though, I like a loose style, a painterly style. So, like a mono here. But I also like really tight stuff too. A guy that I really, really like is Gary Gianni. I don't know, hard to pull out his stuff here, but he's a very talented dude, old school kind of comics of the early 20th century, that kind of stuff. I'm gonna do a deep dive one of these days on some of that. Was using dragons on Transformers Prime and later on Movie 5 planned synergy? No. That was not planned synergy. I think my earliest BotCon memory of you was asking what the name Movor meant when you were on your way to the restroom. Movor. Dumb humor. That was about it. That's all I got to say about that. Is there a limit you have when it comes to drawing? Mine is hands. No, the hands aren't. Mine is probably four-legged animals. Like I don't like drawing horses at all. So I can draw almost everything. Realistic and cartoony and everywhere in between. But I don't like necessarily horses, I guess. But yeah, horses is one of those things. And, yeah. Horses. Yeah, Rotor. You got to say it, Movor, Rotor. Then it starts to sound like I meant it. Demolishor. It was only me naming these things, and early days. Yeah, Timu, I've heard some people, I watched Bob Layton, a comic artist editor, but really rough a guy up looking through his portfolio at a Comic-Con or something years ago, and that's exactly what he said. He goes, man, this is good, but man, you got to learn how to draw hands. And look, you got one next. You're using one with your pencil, and you got one to look at. Figure it out, which is true. Hands, I like breaking it up into forms. This is the book. That's the book right there. George Bridgman, if you know that one. So I feel like he breaks up the overall forms and the subtle forms really well without getting into, an anatomy lesson. It's really about how the overall forms move and play off each other. So I find his stuff here to be really helpful with the hands, particularly. All right, 10:30. Oh, El Kevo with the $20 super chat. How are you? Thank you for another great stream. It's always great when you take the time to answer our questions and join our conversations. Oh, I have a fun time doing this. I have said it before. I will always say it. This is a great fan base. I'm very privileged and fortunate that I got to do a bunch of creation on my own of my own liking with the trust they put in me to do, and you guys all went along for the ride and appreciate that time, and I do too. And we can have informed, creative discussions about it. I'm not so precious to say, it wasn't all great, for different reasons. Speed, knowledge, confusion, any number of things. So it's fun to talk about, and we can kind of go through and, reminisce. Like, why did I name stupid characters Rotor and Movor? It was just speed, inexperience, trying to be clever. But thank you, El Kevo, for the $20 super chat. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the conversations. It's an opportunity for me to rekindle some of my thoughts on this stuff as well. Let's see. All right, Cheesier. Thank you. Good talking. Hands aren't easy until you figure it out, and then it just becomes second nature a little bit. But there is a learning curve to bust through for sure. Mega Octane. Yeah. Armorhide. I can just apologize. That's all I can do. It is what it is. What is the funniest design for a Transformer? Depends how you think of the funny. There's something really funny to me about that. I think it's Beast Wars Neo Rabbit, or the Penguin, or some of those Beast Wars 2 guys really crack me up for any number of reasons. And not because they're bad. They're just funny. You said funniest designs. And funny isn't an insult. Like I'm laughing at it, So that raccoon, with the watch from that era also is great. So that whole segment is pretty funny to me, clearly. Yeah. Gradius Dag base with the bad case of arthritis. Do I know that one? Maybe I don't know its core name. There's a story Derek Wyatt used to tell about a Kubrick school class. He was asked to draw a horse. The instructors review, look, everyone, Derek thinks he is a god. He has invented a new animal. Yeah, drawing a horse used to be and might still be, in certain circles, hardcore muscle condition training. If you can learn all those muscles and how they move within those giant animals, you are going to learn how to draw, or render line and movement and all that stuff. So that's funny. That's some proper art school bullshit right there. Poor Derek. Yeah, Head Megatron is pretty funny. If I'm just gonna say this, in that new Cobra Commander series where Megatron is captured yet again, I was like, we're doing this again? Animated did this. Movie 1 did this. The comic book back in the 80s did this. Like, we're doing this again? But, all right, off pedestal. But there we go. Yeah. If there's an Ironhide, there can be an Armorhide. I think that's probably what I was going for. Yep, Fat NASCAR is pretty funny from that regard. Where did you get the idea for Armada Megatron's antlers? I like Japanese dragons, and they often have antlers, or Asian dragons. So it was purely from that kind of mindset. Do you ever test your ability by drawing something that you don't have an interest in? No. No. At this point, I'm kind of drawing what I like to draw. Um, or don't get forced, or I could get out of drawing anything I don't want to draw. You know, people will ask you, hey, can you draw my family's portraits? Can you draw my dog? Can you do my, marching band t-shirt? You know, I can do all of those things. I long since have not, because it's not what I want to do. I don't want to. I like drawing other things, other ways. So we're all trained, but we don't really necessarily want to do it the way we were trained to do it. Yeah, that watch raccoon was crazy. Even comes with some liquor. Or little sake bottles. People don't all know that, but that's funny. That's funny that they put him in the show. One of the things I like to do is if I test myself with drawing, I will draw. I'll draw without looking. So let's see. We'll do this for a couple minutes and then we'll start to finish it up. But so if you have control of so I'm not looking at what I'm drawing at all. Okay, and I am trying to draw fast. So we'll see how awkward this is going to be. Not terrible. Not terrible. So I like doing that, because if you can control the tiny distances between your movements and things by not looking, then I don't know. You got good control of your hand is how I think of it. So I'll do that kind of stuff. Yeah, Transformers can get convoluted, Robert. The writers may not have seen those versions of the brand is completely true. One of the things that I always, as we entered into these new War for Cybertron video games during my era, or the Exiles book, or any of these things, we had to help with guardrails so people that were partnering wouldn't bring the wrong baggage, or had to be clear about where we were, or where we didn't want to go or be. And it wasn't so much someone was going in the wrong direction, but we were trying to guide in the direction we were headed or preferred, and let them know where we thought areas that we didn't want to go into were. So you can easily get lost if you start with Transformers, just start going through the wiki or Wikipedia, or a lot of it doesn't jive, so you can get lost really quick, or think you got the right answer. Might not be. Hey Evan, how's it going? Beast Wars Neo. Do you know whose idea it was to turn Armada Hoist into Cybertron Long Rack, the giraffe? I don't remember, but I don't remember. I'd like to take credit for it, but I really don't know if that was me. But that was a funny echo for sure. That was a good item. All those items were really good. It was like Takara was like, okay, what are all the things that Hasbro's not letting us do? And we could bring newness to these items. Okay, a horse with hair. Cool. A giraffe where it's got, all that stuff. Cool. A squid that, can ride a bike. Okay, cool. And they just kept going with it. Really cool. that would make sense if it was a Takara initiative. It's not. That wasn't something that we were gonna homage necessarily. A long rack. Goofy. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody today. El Kevo, Timothy, Matt, Mike, and Louie. I appreciate the super chats. We had a pretty good conversation about a lot of different things today, which was really good. A lot of good RID talk today. So that's nice. We're going to have to get to a long form of that before too long. And now that they've done this Optimus and Ultra Magnus, I'm sure we'll get to it closer to the time that releases for sure. So again, if you want to check out archermonster.com, my store, I have sketchbooks with a lot of the different characters that I helped create, and I'm always selling the Posca painted illustrations. There's Omega Supreme. He's a big one. That's what they look like, up close. It's unfortunate because Instagram's good for what it's good for, but I'm not sure it's good for taking pictures of art, because they don't always work out the way it looks to me. Anyway, but check out the long forms. Again, like and subscribe. Definitely keep yourself posted. Most everybody here talking anyway, I know follows, so I appreciate that. So Wind Charger, Timu, El Kevo, Coltron, Dave, Evan. I don't think we ever saw a ninja tonight. I'm going to like to think that he's lurking in the shadows, waiting for his opportunity to strike, and he just hasn't found it yet. Because you can't know when a ninja will strike. So, I appreciate that, Alkevo. Yeah, I got a lot of art, and I do have a lot of instructions. I got a big pile of instructions. I continue to get them. So if you are interested in the original Posca art, illustration art, hit me up, archermonster@gmail.com, and see if I have your favorite character or a character that you like. I just did a bride had me do her husband-to-be's favorite character, and that turned out really well, and he was really surprised and happy about that. So that was fun to do. So I've been contacted to do special characters or special unique things, so that's been fun. So I have that ability, so if you're after anybody, let me know. So I appreciate everybody, and again, I'm going to try to keep this up and hopefully continue to do this once a week, but bear with me. All right, thanks everybody for coming. Again, thanks for the super chats, that's great, and we'll see you on the flip side. Bye everybody.